because it's the silly, stupid, fascinating, weird, wonderful. They're my people, and more often than not, they're the geeky people as well.
I mentioned Betamax. For anybody older, that's the old version of a video cassette. Video cassette is an old version of a DVD. A DVD is not set in the cloud. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to another edition of Faith and Geekery, and tonight it is our cosplay special, and I completely forgot to put my helmet on at the beginning. Never mind. Good evening, Becca. How are you?
I am so good. I'm so excited. This is my favourite episode so far.
Very good. And would you like to tell everybody what you've come dressed as, or do you think we should have a bit of a guess?
Yeah, I think we should have a guess. And it depends how many, people are out there wanting to guess, because they might still be trick-or-treating, or shame on them, watching Bake Off instead of us. It's very disconcerting talking to a faceless. What are you, by the way?
Well, this is part of the guess, isn't it? But yes, this is. I'm
Star Wars.
DeLorean, and it's kind of my own kind of design of kind of person, and otherwise, I have technically made the visor a little bit wider so I can actually see a bit better. Because I think technically this should be a little bit kind of thinner and narrower.
Yeah.
I like to be able to see and stuff like that.
Can you see down your nose as well?
I mean, I can see to the point of where I can see my nose.
As in, is that clear as well?
Yeah,
or just
behind
it? Oh, okay.
So, would you like to tell people that you dressed as, or shall I?
I'm a generic Sim.
No, that's really good.
From The Sims, yes.
And I should say,
and today, technically, I'm kind of green verging on yellow, but it doesn't change colour. But that would have been quite cool if it did.
Very good. Well, I'm really glad that before we kind of went live, I actually guessed it correctly as well. So
yeah, no, that was
good.
It,
I got it. So we're all cool. Does that feel better if I'm gesturing? Because then it looks as if I'm.
Yes, thank you for bringing your hands into the screen.
It does feel a little bit strange. I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep this helmet on for. But a little bit later, we've got Cameron coming to join us to talk to us about cosplay of all things, hence the get-up. Oh, and I'm suddenly realising I might be steaming up at some point as well, which will also be fun. The anti-fog, never mind. So what have you been up to, kind of craft-wise and otherwise?
I have remembered this past week how much of a foodie I am. And I thank you for waving. And I have been doing lots of cooking, lots of different cuisines, different places. And it's just, I get really nerdy about food. Just because I like the process. I like
any food in particular, or just kind of you just thrown yourself into
anything. I can cook anything. Dare I say it, I'm quite good at most things. I did have an epic baking fail last week, trying to ice a Spider-Man cake. So much so that I'm not even going to share the cake. That's how bad my cake was. I know that it was layer upon layer of disaster once I got into the black icing for the webbing. So there are no photos to shame. I know, and I would otherwise share, my proud moments.
Speaking of sharing, folks, if you've been up to craftiness since we last met, we've been actually off for a couple of weeks actually. So yeah, just do want to share, kind of leave a comment, and that'll be cool. Shall we move on to some geeky news?
Let's have some geeky news.
Let me see if I can actually view through this finder. Oh, here we go. I'll try a different style yet again.
Welcome to Geeky News, and from the off, it's been a sad week as Matthew Perry has unfortunately passed away. Not sure about the details, and nor do I really want to talk about the details really, but it's been very sad and tragic. Famously known for his Chandler Bing role, but in recent years has also been helping those with addictions too. So yeah, a bit of a strange one, but very sad to see the loss of him. Next in the news is Doctor Who. Dare I say anymore? But there is a new Tales of the TARDIS documentary dropping on iPlayer and Disney Plus as of tomorrow. That's November the 1st. So that should be exciting, as well as the whole backlog of old BBC Doctor Who stuff. So that'll be really exciting, all on iPlayer too. Very excited about that. Next, there is a new escape room advent calendar. I don't know if you've seen these over the years, but me and my friends have been taking part with these, and the family have been taking part with these, and they're really fun and a bit of a twist on an advent calendar, but they're a little bit on the pricey side, but never mind. Next, Fantastic Beasts has officially concluded filming, as to say they are not filming any more of the films intended to be in about 5, I think, but unfortunately no more, which is a little bit sad, but mixed blessings with J.K. Rowling's perspective on things, and let's move on, shall we? And finally, there is great news that Henry Cavill is stepping into the shoes of Highlander, so we'll await to see if he is the one. That is Geeky News of now. Thanks.
There we go. Is there anything to mention about the news in that? Anything that I've missed or otherwise?
I don't think so. We are sad about Chandler Bing.
Yeah,
that is a sadness.
And I think go on.
Too young.
Yeah, very sad, very tragic. Doctor Who news. Excited about that?
Well, I'm sorry, Mandalorian. What was that you just said?
Doctor Who news. Are you sad
very
about
excited? Yeah. I'm trying to work out whether I can go back and watch the originals and watch it all the way through. Is that what the news said, that all of them are going to be on iPlayer?
Yes, I think there's about 800 episodes.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to watch all of
quite
them.
A lot. I would maybe kind of start off with, I think the very first one isn't even on there as well, actually. But I think
I thought, didn't they lose that?
No, they've still got it, but I think it's maybe kind of otherwise at the moment. But no, it should be really fun to be able to catch up on some of them. City of Death is quite a good episode, which is a Tom Baker one, and it stars John.
Tom Baker is my first Doctor, so I think I would have to start.
For me, it was Sylvester McCoy. That was my first Doctor.
Oh, interesting. I think maybe it's the first time I actually got into Doctor Who and fully appreciated it with his long scarf.
And then anything else to mention about the news, or should we kind of dive into introducing our guest?
Let's bring on Cameron.
Fantastic. Let's bring him on. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
I do really feel as if I should gesture a bit more with this helmet. Welcome, Cameron. Would you like to share a little bit about yourself, or otherwise? Or should we get?
I can do. I'm a sports journalist. I live in Leeds. Although I'm obviously into my sport, I'm also very much into my nerdy stuff or geeky stuff. Good to hear you talking about Doctor Who. So excited for the 60th anniversary.
Very much so.
Very excited.
Yeah, so and you've come in your cosplay as well, and we'd like to tell folks what you've been dressed as.
Yeah, so I've come as the Green Arrow, Oliver Queen from DC Comics. It's based on the season 5 onwards of the show. Arrow cost my parents a lot of money when I turned 18. I just about squeeze into it now.
It is the way.
So you can't beef up now. That's it. You have to stay lean, narrow for the rest of your life.
Yeah, otherwise it'll split, I think.
Yeah, I've got to say, I've got a long leather coat that I got off a mate when I was 18, and for the age of 18, I loved it. And then since then, I have bulked out. It's still in the wardrobe, but if I do put it on, I think I feel as if I would rip it just by tensing muscles. You know, it wouldn't be good, not at all. So we'll come to kind of talking a bit about cosplaying a bit. Shall I remove my helmet at this point? I feel as if, oh, that's better. Oh,
hi, Mark. That's nice.
Yeah, I thought I'd done anti-fog, but I was misting up a little bit, so my nose was getting a bit squashed. Well, the thing is, I've 3D printed this, and this is what I've been busy doing. So that's 3D printed, whereas this is just EVA foam and otherwise. So this is a bit of a cheat, really. But I thought I couldn't just turn up with a helmet. I needed to at least put some effort into doing stuff, and so I've kind of gone most of the way. You know, I've kind of tried enough of it, but we can talk a little bit more about cosplay as we go on a little bit further. But shall we kind of move on to our soon becoming quite a popular feature of our quiz? Becca, have you remembered this week?
I have remembered. Are you ready? Cameron, have you got a pen and paper or your phone?
I've got a Word document up. Does that suffice?
That'll be sufficient. Yes.
I've got a bit of paper, but I'm going to use my old Mega Drive cheat book as something to lean on. Definitely show my age.
Yeah, you are. You're a bit. Right. Are you ready?
I've got my Mega Drive here, so.
Oh, your little memorabilia dotted around.
I've got a pile of it due to anyway, I won't go into it. Quiz time.
Do we have a theme tune for the quiz? We're so snazzy.
Like that, yeah.
Okay. Question number 1. What is the name of the status diamond on top of a Sim's head? What is this called?
Oh,
should
I asked one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I asked one of my teenagers earlier, and they gave me the name immediately. So, yeah, what is this called?
Right, this isn't a competition generally, by the way, Cameron. I feel, especially with Becca's questions, it tends to be, and I try and find at least one answer.
I just hope my fiance doesn't watch this, because I think she'd scold me.
Well, I hope so. Okay, question number 2. According to Billboard, what was the most popular cosplay costume of 2022?
I quite like
not a Pentecost flame, Lydia, but nice.
Billboard,
nice
what
guess.
was the of 22?
Yes, most popular cosplay costume of 2022.
Oh, I'm going to take a punt, I think. Well, to be honest, both of these are guesses so far. So
join the club.
Okay, question number 3. What was the most expensive movie costume ever resold? I'll give you a clue. It was from a movie in 1955.
I thought you were about to say it's from a movie.
In 1955.
Oh, I've forgotten the name.
I genuinely.
Can I get a point for just the actual things themselves?
If you describe the costume, you can get the point.
I'll mention the film as well, I'm guessing. Although I've forgotten the name. Yep, another guess.
Another guess. Well, you're going to have to guess the next one. Okay. What is the leading brand of thermoplastic used for cosplay costumes?
UK or America?
Internet.
Thermoplastic.
Thermoplastic.
Oh
So if
my
you
gosh.
type in to Google, there'll be a top hit. Don't now do that because that's cheating. Okay, last question. If you were to cosplay as Luigi from Mario Brothers, what 4 components would you need to complete your costume? If you're playing at home, if you were to cosplay as Luigi from Mario Brothers, what 4 components would you need to pull off your costume?
Oh my gosh, that's just like. Now, are shoes a given?
Let's assume that you're cosplaying on Faith and Geekery, so no.
Right, okay. Obviously, I'm reading some of Stephen Jones' comments on here, which is a bit of cheating, really. But I've already written my ones down. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's the thing. Oh my. I feel as if I should know the 4th one. I've forgotten. I've forgotten the brand name of it because I didn't go for the brand name of it. Never mind. Rubbish streaming footage of me just pondering.
Yes, let's watch Mark think for several minutes.
But
at least your gestures, I feel you're fully coming into your gestures now. Okay, right. The answer to question number 1 is a plumb bob.
Oh yeah, of course. I guessed Sim Gem because I was just like, no idea.
It's a plumb bob.
Plumb bob.
Of course,
a plumb bob. It's a plumb
Right.
bob. You know, I
right.
didn't know this until I was like, right, I'm going to be a sim. And everyone kept calling it a plumb bob. And then I asked someone because I thought that was a ridiculous thing. And they were like, yeah, of course it's called a plumb bob.
Of course.
So I want to check our 4 kind of viewers at the moment. Did anyone know that as standard or has everyone Googled it?
Wait. No, we still have Lydia's Pentecost flame, which is clearly very inaccurate.
Oh no, so that was the next question that she'd answered for.
Right, okay. So question number 2 was the Billboard. What was the most popular costume of 2022? And it was Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, Lydia got it right, actually.
Well done, Lydia.
What did you say, Cameron?
I went for Loki, but I feel like I might have jumped the gun.
I went for Wednesday. You see, Wednesday Addams.
Yeah,
that was
really popular.
Yeah. Wednesday would have been a good one, but no, it was Spider-Man most worn. In fact, my 15-year-old is out as Spider-Man tonight, so it could have another year running. And that was the cake that I completely failed to do because that webbing, it's just black. And the thing is, once you've gone wrong with black icing, then you know it ended up being thrown at the wall. The icing bag, not the actual cake. I know. Okay, question number 3.
The Venom symbiote.
I could have done. I wish I'd just gone, you know what? I'll just turn it into Venom. But no, I was by that point too stressed. Okay, the most expensive costume resold was Marilyn Monroe's iconic white dress from the 7-Year Itch. You know, the one where she shows her pants. That one. And it's resold for $4.6 million.
Wow. I went for the red shoes from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. I don't know what they resold for.
I've forgotten her name though. Julie
Garland. Judy Garland.
I put Julie G. I just couldn't remember her name.
Well, it was wrong. Cameron, what did you get for that question?
I had no idea, so I just went.
Didn't even make it up.
I just picked Superman.
Very good.
Okay. The leading brand of thermoplastics is Warbler.
Oh, Warbler.
You'll have heard of Warbler. I see.
That's the American. That's the American one, though.
Or Wonderflex, if you're using it in. No.
Okay. You can't get Warbler in the UK, and so I just kind of went with EVA, and that's why I just put in down EVA because
I will accept a leading brand in the UK then, if we're.
I don't know. That's just the generic. That's
just
the generic term of it.
Right, last one. Hang on, what comments we got?
I think it's the Julie G. That's why it's the Ali G.
Julie in it. If you were to cosplay as Luigi from Mario Brothers, you would need dungarees, a green top shirt, long sleeve shirt, a green hat with an L on it, and a moustache.
Yeah. You see, I put hat, dungarees, green t-shirt, moustache, and then I was like, does he not need a plunger?
Oh, well, I suppose.
Or if it was Halloween, it would be the ghost pack from Luigi's Haunted Mansion.
So you're overthinking it now, Mark.
Could put white gloves on.
And could have white gloves, but you'd need the 4 things, I reckon, to pull off Luigi. A oversized plunger would add to the overall look.
Yeah. That's good.
There you go. What were your scores?
Oh,
not very good. 1.
Well, you can get a point for each one of your components for Luigi.
Then.
Well done.
If you're allowing EVA, then I've got a 5.
I'll allow a generic EVA.
Jolly good. So I've got 5. I wonder how everyone else did at home or wherever they may be. So should we move on to our Geeks Gallery? And then we're going to kind of deep dive a bit into cosplay. So I'm going to just bring up our little, and should we go at the sides like that? Stephen ended up with half a point, or 2 points with Becca's generosity.
You're welcome, Stephen Jones.
Mendip, is that Tom? Every single week I forget who it is.
That is Tom Osborne.
Yeah, so he's been sharing kind of some boards for kind of for the Battlezone stuff, as well as some kind of figures he's just about to start on for a kill team, or his next kill team. You can tell what stuff I'm not into because I'm just starting to go very vague. But something's there. Looks cool. I've tried to kind of summarize everyone up in groups on the slides. Tim has just put about his kind of stats. Entered just past session 50 of a D&D game with tracking and various other bits and pieces. Which they're such an investment, aren't they? You kind of really get into them in such a big way. So he's just been sharing. It does go on. So if you're on Discord, and that's a reminder, if you're interested in this kind of stuff and sharing, come on, join our Discord group, and then you can share away on various kind of categories and otherwise. These are a couple from me. I did a family D&D game where we had hot chocolate, and trying to play D&D with a 6 and nearly 9-year-old is always fun. He did. My oldest decided to go into an encounter without a long rest, and he was on 2 health points, and it's just like, genuinely, mate, are you serious? Fortunately, he was a druid, and he wild shaped into a tiger. Because he was a mean druid or whatever. Anyway, I've also got back onto my rollerblades after 20 years. These are new rollerblades, by the way. My old ones just disintegrated. Moving on, Specky Geek, David has been kind of painting some awesome figures, and he's actually on Discord has shown like a progression of him kind of working on them, so they're looking fab. And then, Lydia had been kind of doing some colouring in, which is quite sweet as well. It looks cool, and I love the rainbow-themed bats as well as snails and otherwise.
I just think like a cow's in that, Lydia.
Yeah, absolutely. For Cameron, if you haven't caught up, Lydia loves her cows, and she's been on the program before to share about her passion, her geekiness for cows. And
there's nothing wrong with cows.
Absolutely, absolutely. Luke showed a bit about a Warhammer shop and doing some painting, and I think coming towards the end, yeah, there we go. So that was the Geeks Gallery. I hope I didn't kind of blast through those too quickly, really. I realised at the time when I was collating it all, we've had a couple of weeks off, so there's quite a lot of going on, and then I've just kind of summarised it really, really quickly. So apologies. Right. Are we happy to... Oh, there's the potential for a cow at the back. If I finish the thought. Oh, yeah. So Lydia suddenly just thought there was a potential of...
Oh, good gracious. Who even are you, Lydia?
Missed opportunity. I'd like to say she's saying that she's typing with her hooves. The big cup. I'd like to think that anyway, Lydia. I'm sure it's fine. So, yeah, Cameron, would you like to kind of share a little bit about kind of your kind of interest in cosplay? Do you want me to kind of lead you with some questions, or are you happy just to kind of dive into it?
Yeah.
I can
start with how you got there. Why cosplay, and when did you realise that you were a person that likes to dress up for fun and frolics?
Sort of all my life, really. I think I never really, stopped from being a little kid. I think, I like just pretending to be someone else sometimes. That it's a bit like I used to do a lot of acting as well when I was a kid. So always been interested in playing a different role. I think the first proper time I ever did cosplay was going to a Comic-Con as the Joker, and that was really fun. I was 16 at the time.
Which Joker?
It was sort of my own take, but I would probably say more comic book Joker.
Okay.
And it was quite good actually, because they sort of invited everyone onto the stage, and I was able to do my a Joker, a little Joker performance, which was quite fun.
Very cool. Very cool.
So yeah, and I've been to a few other Comic Cons as Anakin Skywalker and Green Arrow and sort of other assorted ones. I suppose one problem I often have is a lot of characters don't tend to have blonde hair, and I find that quite a big stumbling block for me. It's quite easy to do the Joker because just a cheap green hair dye, you're there. But if you want to do David Tennant's Doctor, you're having to get like brown hair.
Yeah. So how do you choose who you're going to be? Is it working around the colour of your hair, because there's hair dye, Cameron, or is it something about who they are that you feel an affinity with?
It's often sort of who they are and feeling an affinity with that character, I suppose. I think my fiance always laughs at me because I often sort of get attached to sort of one thing for a very long period of time. And make it not my whole personality, but it becomes a big driving force of my day-to-day life. So for instance, when I was 16 and I did the Joker cosplay, I was very much into my Joker for whatever reason. Constantly watching the Dark Knight back, and also enjoying the Arkham games with Mark Hamill as the Joker. Excellent performance. And it feels kind of weird to say, you feel an affinity with that character, but when you sort of 16, they always say when you're a kid you love Batman, but sort of when you get older you realize the Joker was right. Now I'm not saying the Joker is right, but at that age when you're sort of 16, and I wasn't very rebellious, but you often start to feel a bit rebellious at that sort of age. I feel like the Joker is quite appealing.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned this, because I can't remember which comedian it was, but they were saying about how Batman was, they just absolutely hated and detested Batman because, or Bruce Wayne, because it's kind of going, so this guy is a billionaire, and rather than trying to change the world that he lives in with his masses of wealth and changing the economy and the infrastructures and the organizations levels, he's decided to take it out on the low-level criminals who are kind of trying to make the kind of way in the world in an unjust world, and yet so he's kind of having his frolics by kind of dressing up as a bat and going beating people up at low levels rather than dealing with the much bigger issues
of systemic problems that have caused crime and all the rest of it in the first place.
I was just kind of watching going, well, he's not wrong. It's like, gosh, okay, where is the Joker? But I kind of get what you mean with that whole kind of, and especially kind of those, dare I say, kind of those influential years of where you kind of deep dive into kind of films. So that's my phrase. That kind of deep diving. You kind of suddenly have those passions and kind of get into films in a big way. And you kind of you find your kind of hero characters, whether they are heroes or not, but there's people that you can look up to or kind of go, wow, there's something about them that I really like. And it may just be kind of the looks or the kind of the swagger or just the kind of character themselves, but there is a way of where you can kind of kind of get into it. And I mentioned my leather coat. That may have been in part due to The Crow came out recently at that sort of time. And it was that kind of time of, kind of dressing up and kind of looking quite cool and being the bad kid. That all kind of shows my age. But Germany
nearly had a question about The Crow actually, but it wasn't. It was too proppy and not costumey enough.
Yeah. So do you know what I mean? So I can definitely see a way that you can kind of emulate those people that you look up to, or that there's something very distinct about them. And and I think there's also something there about kind of bringing a bit of creativity into life and kind of working on something that you can kind of show off, but that's also widely accepted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think from my point of view as well, it's a lot like sort of like emotional freedom. I feel like the reason I connect with a lot of characters and people in a wider sense, sportsmen. We touched on my job, which is obviously sports journalism. The reason I attach to these people is there's an emotional connection. It's not so much the actions. Obviously you put an action film on, you want to see action, but I always find that it's in the somber moments that I actually feel invested in a film. Like this scene always makes me cry, and it's not much of a scene, but in Spider-Man 2, which is my favorite film by the way, there's this close up on Peter Parker when he's having his dilemma, and he goes, am I not supposed to have what I want, what I need? And for some reason that always makes me cry, because that just really resonates with me. So when I am cosplaying, it's like being that other character, and it's just like an emotional release.
Yeah. So why the Green Arrow?
I mean, part of it is because it's cool, but
very good.
But I do like a big part of Oliver Queen's sort of character arc is dealing with the darkness inside of him and learning to sort of live with it and his past and his father's past, and trying to sort of formulate it into something good and worthwhile, which is it's a real struggle. And I feel like we can all sort of relate to that, because I, in my own personal experience, you often feel like in your alone moments, you feel like you have got like that darkness. You might not really, it might be a tiny speck compared to the rest of the world. But when you're alone and you're vulnerable, you feel like there's so much of it. So I feel like that's why Oliver is the Green Arrow, I suppose, as he's also known.
And is that the same for Luke Skywalker as well? Then that temptation towards the dark side that he had.
Yeah, you mean Anakin, I assume.
Anakin, yeah, naturally.
Yeah,
well,
they both had it, but it's Anakin.
He gave in.
I think, to be fair, I think he's probably should have come as Anakin. To be fair, he's sort of the one that I attached to the most, and that's probably because when I first saw Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, I was like 3 or 4. It was like one of the first films I remember watching on DVD at home. So, you know, basically for as long as I can remember, I've been able to go back and watch episode 2 and episode 3. Episode 3 was one of the first films I ever watched, and I still remember going as a 5-year-old. My dad maybe shouldn't have taken me as a 5-year-old. But I just love, I love this sort of the temptation, and the fact that he feels like he's doing the right thing. It is just that emotional sort of connection I have with him. You know, I talked about the Tobey Maguire scene, the scene in Revenge of the Sith, just before he sort of commits to the dark side and goes and kills Mace Windu. There's almost no dialogue. It's just quiet. It's just music, and he's just sat there, and he's got a couple of tears rolling down his face, and it's sunset. I find that really moving as well, and that's as good as the flashy lightsaber duel at the end for me.
Interesting.
I find that really interesting because it is about where you kind of find parallels or find kind of a way to express yourself or find a connection emotionally with the character. So I hadn't really kind of considered that as much, because I think I've seen it as the way in which you can kind of project that kind of character for other people, that you can kind of pretend to be that person and embody that person in places where you go to. And I think there is, for me, is I know it's not the same standard, but I remember going to a Christmas dinner. Gosh, it must be a long time ago. But I went as a clockwork droid from. This is
cool.
What I did. So I went as this, and I had like an orange wig on, and it was really cool because everyone knew what I was. For those of people who'd watched Doctor Who, but there was also this kind of opportunity that I could hide behind this mask, and I could just be this clockwork droid. Ironically, there was somebody also there on the evening dressed as Spider-Man in a tuxedo, just with a spider hat.
Love that.
And they didn't speak. And when it came to like the food, they just lifted it up and they put it down. and everyone was just like, "Who is that? Have they been invited? Who is it?" And it turns out it was actually our ethics lecturer. And he was just having the best night of his life because he was just dressed up and no one knew who he was, and so he could really kind of hide behind that. But I think but it gave me real joy to kind of go as somebody kind of that we didn't that you could show to the world, and for people for those in on it, where they're going, "Hey, yeah, we get that," but then also for others going, "Who is that? What is all that about?" And it's quite a nice kind of, I guess it's quite a nice community, especially if you go along and they can get it. That's really cool.
Yeah. And that's something about that reinvention, isn't it? So when you say that you closely embody the character that you're feeling most affinity with at the moment, what is it that your fiance's noticed that is different about you? How does she know that you're particularly fascinated about a character?
I think it's always on the television. For starters, being rerun or whatever. It's basically all that comes out of my mouth. And if I make any sort of purchases for myself, which to be fair, doesn't happen that regularly, but they'll often be centered around that one particular thing. So, for example, my obsession right now, I don't know if you have know much about WWE, but for some reason I've got back into it, and especially Cody Rhodes, and he's sort of the guy I'm really obsessed with right now, because his story is quite a beautiful and heartwarming story, and like I'm just constantly obsessed with Cody Rhodes at the minute.
I'm afraid I'm not actually into WWE. I used to dabble a long time ago, in the 90s with the old kind of lot, and when The Rock was known for The Rock rather than his acting, and all that. Well, or different foot there. Well, let's not go into that argument. Discuss what sort of acting. That's really cool. That's really cool. So you haven't kind of taken. I don't want to be disrespectful. So you haven't taken up more archery around the house, kind of that kind of stuff. So, no.
I don't think that would be. I don't think would have the space, unfortunately. I do have a quiver though, that goes with it, and I don't even know what that's called. There's like this little sort of thing that is supposed to hold the ends of arrows. I mean, you don't have any, but it looks quite cool. It sits on your arm.
But I think Becca, you alluded to this earlier on, that you kind of the bits that you and I've forgotten even what you've called the little thing above your head now.
A plumb bob.
A plumb bob. You suddenly find when you're delving into these things, you find like there's this hidden language about this kind of stuff. I did not know what these things were called, and I had to kind of Google what these bits.
What are they called?
Oh, what are they called? The capulets? No, thingulets. It's part of the yeah, no. Right, that's not going to help. But do you know what I mean? You suddenly have to deep dive into it and kind of work out all the kind of the different terminology. And dare I say, you also then kind of find the community, whether it's people building it or portraying it or that kind of stuff. You're suddenly there kind of going, oh my gosh. So I was sneaky. I actually shared a picture of my helmet on Blue Sky. Knowing that I was hardly anyone on that kind of platform. And the first thing that came back was someone was there going, oh yeah, have you been in contact with Mando Merks? And I was like, so who? What? and it's just like, I have no idea what you're on about. So I had to kind of go away and Google it. And it's people who cosplay. And actually, so far, we haven't mentioned any difference about cosplay and costume, have we? Because I think that's... again, I googled it because the kind of costume is kind of just dressing up, fancy dress, and otherwise cosplay is kind of very much more of a serious kind of commitment to it. Kind of interestingly, in the Mando Merc stuff. So Mando Mercs is basically a charity where they kind of have quite a regimented kind of list of where you need to kind of wear this stuff. It can't be EVA foam. It has to be kind of rigid plastic. So there's even like a stormtrooper kind of I want to say unit group of them where basically if you want to be part of that unit, you've got to be kind of, it's got to be hard, solid plastic, so that there's not going to be any wear and tear, and it's not going to look cheap, basically. And it's their kind of perspective on, you've got to look professional. You've got to look as if you've just stepped off the Star Destroyer, I'm just trying to think of a spacecraft that'd be on a deployment craft, whatever, but they sort of say, because actually you've got to be in character from start to finish, and you can't look cheap. You can't look as if you just bought it from a fancy dress kind of shop. And I was just like, oh my gosh, wow. But then you kind of delve a bit deeper, and they sort of say, because actually what we are is a not-for-profit charity where actually we will go and support people. And so whether that, so that you kind of, if you've got time to offer, you can go and kind of go and meet and greets at kind of Comic-Cons, or kind of do stuff with kind of Make-A-Wish Foundation and stuff like that. And suddenly it's just like going, wow, I've not seen this side of cosplay. I've always seen it as the for self and otherwise. If I'm honest, I've not really delved into it personally. I've always kind of been more creative, crafting costume kind of attire and fancy dress. But kind of the Mando helmet was definitely my kind of first delve more into it. That being said, I do have Cyberman helmet there as well. I've got various bits and pieces. But yeah, I think for me, I was just sitting there going, wow, okay, actually there is so much more. And depending on how far you want to take it, and actually what you are cosplaying as, there can be communities out there who would kind of embrace you. But again, it depends on their remit and what kind of quality and what you're aiming to get out of it, really, as well. But I would love to go to love to go to a Comic-Con, but they tend to be on a Sunday, which doesn't really work very well for those with Sunday commitments. So it's a bit annoying. But that being said, the last place I went to, I was at Scarborough for a festival, and then they were kind of going, oh, we've got this kind of Comic-Con, and they're going, I don't recognise any of these people, and is it because it's Scarborough? and not somewhere a bit more kind of up on the rankings. You know, it was just a bit like, yeah, I think you're grasping at straws a bit there. I didn't recognise anyone on the listing, and it was like there was like 5 of them that were on from like a new release of a film, and I was like kind of going, I couldn't even recognise the film, let alone the people that was in there. So I felt a bit bad, but I wasn't actually going to it, so no money wasted or
otherwise. So Cameron, what's your next cosplay?
I would like to do Cody Rhodes. So for that, I'm going to need a bright coloured leather jacket that goes all the way down to my my feet. And I'll need to find well, and then you need to sort of put together all the different layers, because like he's got so many different jackets, but let's say for the argument I go for the red one. So you got your red, but then you've got like a layer of white and then a layer of blue, so lots of layering up, and then there's bits of like little metal on the shoulders that need to be attached, and then you got to sort out your wrestling tights and find a pair of boots, and then find a way to put the logo on the boots. Fortunately, I've got his weight belt, so that bit does itself. But yeah,
does he know that you've got his weight belt?
Oh yeah, Nick. I wrestled him for it, and
oh, you've earned it then.
Yeah, I've earned it.
That's very cool.
Did he know that you were wrestling him?
No,
was he awake at the time?
I think he'd have beaten me if he'd have known.
Sports journalist.
Just keep on leaving all this stuff around, you know.
I love that.
Only joking.
Shiny.
Only joking. So that's your next project. In an ideal world, would there be somebody who you'd like, if money was no option? And this goes to everybody watching as well. You know, would there be somebody that you would want to cosplay as? Is somebody in an ideal world if money wasn't an option?
Ooh, I always fancied like building like the perfect Batman like armor. So like not like, you know, your skin tight suit, but like, you know, I'm not quite to the, you know, sort of Arkham Knight style armor. I always envisaged putting something like that together. But I'm sure it's probably doable, but it's the time kind of thing and the money. But maybe one day.
Yeah. I was looking at I think I've fallen down so many rabbit holes looking for either questions or for cosplay ideas. The plumb bob was the quickest and the most achievable in the time that I had. Although, to be fair, if I turn it off, this is a proper acetate constructed, beautifully. Yeah, that's quite impressive, really. But the one rabbit hole was Princess Amidala costumes, and there's so many out there, and the cost of them is astronomical. But to get it right, and the level of detail that they go to is just phenomenal. And similar with the Lord of the Rings costumes. What they did in order to make the costumes look not just lived in but alive, and just the detailing of it is just incredible. But yeah, Princess Amidala.
That's something I always feel like with cosplay is it's all or nothing, really. Like if you're gonna do it, you kind of got. I mean, this is how I feel. I'm not saying everyone has to be like this, but for me, it's got to be all or nothing. I've either got to look in the mirror and go, yeah, that's as close, you know, that's very close to what I want to, you know, what I want it to be. And if it's not, it's just doesn't feel worth doing for me, because I feel like that kind of severs the emotional connection that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Will you send us some pictures of your past cosplays? So we can share them in Discord. That would
Yeah, of course they
be great. That would
I
be a
was just gonna
bonus
mention-
for our Discord community, wouldn't it? Is if you're watching or watching back, and you're really curious about Cameron's cosplay antics, he'll send us some pictures and you can see them, but exclusively on Discord.
I was going to say, I was going to do this, but unfortunately it goes over Cameron's face. So that's not really nice, is it? So, but there's a little Cyberman there. But yeah, it's interesting because I was building this over the last couple of weeks. For the record, I've purposely not made it into proper armor because I'd want to make it a better job, if that makes sense. This was purely for tonight and just to kind of get it kind of going across. But these do all detach because it's Velcro, Velcro bits and pieces. Cool. But kind of making these, forming these, then painting these, and then my kids are there kind of going, "What are you doing, Dad? What are you doing?" And then then I'm going, "Oh yeah, now I've got to age them." And they're just like, "What do you mean age them?" So I kind of had this this is actually cherry red, which I've kind of slightly regretted the colour really, but then kind of had to age it with kind of acrylic and then water. Yeah. And then I slowly just kind of was building these pieces up, you see. So they're nice. All just kind of...
This is fun.
Yeah. Funny, the best one is the way with the little Mandalorian.
That's brilliant.
Oh, that is nice.
But basically, I was kind of been building all this up, and the kids were... Ruben was interested, especially when the spray paint came out. It was just like, "Oh, can I have a go?" And it's like, not so much, and especially not on your own. There was a moment where I'm fairly sure I could smell some spray paint that had been sprayed in the house, but there was no sign of it, and so I was just like, "Okay, that's a good thing that didn't kind of happen." And then, but then today, I was waiting to get this Velcro stuff through the post, and I quickly put it on. And suddenly, Ruben was just like, "Can I have a selfie?" And I was just like, "Sorry, you're wanting a selfie with your dad, mate? Wow, okay, yeah." And I was like, that hardly ever happens, you know. But suddenly, just putting this kind of outfit, you know, this costume on, it was just like it elevated, you know, his dad. You know, suddenly my street cred went up a little bit, briefly.
Briefly, and then briefly. You took it off again.
So I kind of it's interesting of how we can kind of embody and project ourselves in a different way, and kind of I also find it, and what we haven't mentioned so far is the way that people can go to Comic-Con as celebrities and either go in incognito or kind of go completely dressed as themselves in their actual role, but because everyone else is there, then it's also this different sort of anonymity. But then also, who's the guy who's Daredevil? Cox, is it Charlie Cox? Is that his name? And he went in as Bluey to a Comic-Con, and or is it Bluey's dad or whatever it was, and just kind of face paint and just was walking around kind of Comic-Con. He soon got photographs taken of him because everyone was like, aren't you Daredevil? But I think it's just quite cool that you can also have that other kind of side of it, of being able to hide, even if you're famous or a celebrity, in this kind of environment where everyone is also then trying to portray you, portray your character and all this kind of stuff.
My favourite story is when Hugh Jackman was told repeatedly that when he went to a Comic-Con cosplaying as a comic book accurate Wolverine, that he was too tall for Wolverine.
But on stage, wasn't he actually? Were other actors actually on steps though? Because he genuinely was too tall. Or was that just a myth?
I don't know. I won't be surprised if that was true, because he's quite tall.
Yeah.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought he was too short.
No, Wolverine in the comics, Wolverine's supposed to be like this really stubby, like kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
And Hugh Jackman does, when he stood up, he's like over 6 foot, isn't he? I mean, he's a fantastic Wolverine. That was one of the complaints. People always find something to complain about, what they say.
And I guess our time is coming to an end. But I think what is interesting there is also then of when we have kind of portrayals of people in film and TV series, of when people have been so committed to characters in comic books, in novels, and otherwise, you then kind of, it's then quite a hard criteria to fulfill then when people are trying to kind of bring their own kind of spin on it, on their own kind of, you know, like dare I mention, is it Jared Leto who tried to do kind of a Joker? I mean, I don't think that was widely accepted as
I
as a
loved
Joker.
his Joker. Loved it. I thought he was,
I think you're in the
I
minority.
did.
But
what's his
again,
name before him? What was his name? Who died?
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. I mean, he felt unstable as the Joker, but I thought Jared Leto pulled that off as well. And it felt more comic booky. I think that's why I liked his so much. It felt like a caricature of the Joker from the comic books rather than following any of the Joker stuff that had come before. So I stand by Jared in his interpretation. So there.
Well, it's fine. And I think this is what we've said about before, isn't it? That we can kind of, we're happy to, whilst it might not be our thing, we can get alongside other people's geekery and otherwise. I have said before, Spider-Man 2 is not my favourite of the Spider-Man films. But, you know, I'm happy for other people to enjoy them. I know, but we said about no fighting.
We said before, there's never any fighting on this. There is no antagonism.
But I can definitely see, as soon as you said about that bit, I was like, yeah, you know what? I get that. Yeah. I get that as that character. You know, but and again, I won't try and do like a cheap riff or a quip at the end of that. So I'm going to move on. But yeah, I think just kind of cosplay and these kind of different ways in which kind of characters can be, be claimed by us, held onto by us, kind of made into those kind of people that we look up to, can really kind of help. And we haven't really talked about kind of literary kind of novels and books and kind of characters, but I mean, there's characters in Discworld, for example, that I kind of go, you know what, those are fantastic things. I will say, I'll mention some kind of pictures and otherwise, and I'm going to show one picture just purely to embarrass somebody. Share screen. A window. Oh, look what we've got here. Can you see Becca and I? So we're at the back. I think it was the 70s theme. So this is from 20 years ago, isn't it, Becca? So there's me in a wig at the back, stood next to Becca as we're looking behind. I think it's Pete, isn't it? But I thought I'd just share that one. But when I was at training college, as well as so this was my second year. The first year I went as Edward Scissorhands. Becky, nice. Well, in fact, Becky thought the first time we went to kind of one of these party things, we did Tomb Raiders. She was Lara Croft, I was Indiana Jones. The second one, I went as she went as what's it from Breakfast at Tiffany's? No, it's not even that, is it? Anyway, I went with Edward Scissorhands, and Becky was there kind of going, great. So this is the person that you are. You're here to show me up in full costume. And I was just like, I just love Edward Scissorhands. And then after that, which one was it?
But Mark, I feel that there's a distinct lack of photos on Discord of all of these.
I can share some of those.
Every single one of them.
Well, I haven't got all of them. However, what I will share with you is that by the time we kind of got into our third year with kind of college stuff and bits and pieces, and after doing this one, people started kind of going, oh yeah, what are you going to come as next? What are you going to come as next? And so as a whole kind of group of us, we went as the Muppet Christmas Carol. Cool. And so
nice.
So I went as Christmas Future. And so I made this kind of big kind of cowl that added about another foot onto me. So I'm 6 foot 2 and a bit. And so I was kind of 7 foot, and I had kind of cardboard hands to kind of lengthen my hands, and like these just black cloaks kind of going on top, and which was cool. Or Becky kind of went as the kind of spirit. Jenny went as Christmas present, and our friend Andrew went as Scrooge, and he was a bit of a Scrooge. And so we kind of went across. The only downside is that we were walking across Preben's Bridge in Durham, which is this kind of long bridge, and it was foggy. And I, being 6 foot whatever, I was walking in front of everyone else. And this old lady nearly had a heart attack seeing this black cowled figure, who, you know, in essence, looks a bit like death, apart from without a sign. And I just had to let go. Sorry, hello. Not really scary, not really trying to come to get you. And it was just like,
it's not your time yet, little lady.
Indeed. But by the end of it, by the end of the year, we were also, me and my friend Rich, we'd also been doing Doctor Who homages, and so I will show it as well. That we made our own Dalek and we made our own TARDIS, and that does lead me on to, whilst I've been doing this kind of project, on Friday I'm hoping to get some wood because I'm going to rebuild my TARDIS, and all of that is going to be. I'll show you the old pictures of old kind of cosplays and bits and pieces and costumes and my old Dalek and my old TARDIS. But starting this Friday, I'm hoping to build up and literally build over the next few weeks my kind of reimagined TARDIS, in hopefully ready for the 60th. But it's going to have to be a lot of spare time kind of thrown into doing it. But yeah, when I basically had a full-size TARDIS made out of cardboard and slatwood, and it survived for a number of years, and then basically when it started to kind of look a bit dilapidated, Becky went, "Well, if you do need to build another one," I was like, "Yep, you've said that now. I'm going to hold you to it." So that is a long time in the works. I think it's been 5 years since I've had my TARDIS, so I'll be building another one. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. But
like a tangent.
Throw all those bits and pieces into kind of Discord, and so that is just a reminder that if you're catching it up with us later, if you've been enjoying Bake Off or otherwise, no spoilers, please.
We love you anyway.
We love you anyway. But thank you, Cameron. Thank you for joining. Is there anything left to say before you go?
Just thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate it.
No,
You're
bless you.
very
Well,
welcome.
we're
Please
really
come again.
appreciative. Thank you for sharing your cosplay with us and the Green Arrow. And yeah, it's been a real pleasure. So I'm going to
join us on Discord.
Feel free to join us on Discord. But we'll drop you off the screen for now. And Becca, anything left to say or otherwise tonight?
I think there's something about the power of story and character, and how that connects with who we fundamentally are as human, and just paying attention to that as we listen. But any story is worth listening to. So you're so welcome, Stephen and Lydia. Thank you for joining us as well. But yeah, power of story, power of character, and what that does to transform the way we see ourselves, but also the way we connect in the world.
Yeah, I think that's really, it means a lot, doesn't it, about how we portray ourselves and how we can project ourselves onto others. And it can be helped by what we wear, of how we kind of act. And also the people that we look up to can also impact how we look on ourselves.
And what we choose to do with that. Yeah. No, it's great.
Well, bless you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, Becca, for being here as always. And yeah, folks, I hope you have a good Halloween, the rest of a good evening.
Happy Halloween.
Can we do that? Yeah, happy Halloween.
We do it. It's my favourite night of the year on our doorstep.
There we go. Last little comment there. But yes, we've had nobody visiting, which to be honest, I'm quite relieved with. But anyway, never mind.
We had hundreds. I'll have to count how many candles we had lit this year. But we had them lighting candles for someone you love and don't see anymore. And we had people coming back, and they didn't even come to get the sweets. They came to light the candle. They did that first because we like to do this every year. It's beautiful. I love it. So
that's really good.
Yeah. So happy Halloween.
Oh yeah, happy Halloween, folks. And I hope you have a good evening, and whatever you're up to, geek safe.